All right, here we go. Game two. We've got Azir, so already we're looking at some hyperscaling. On top of that, we've got Alistar, Kaisa, and Renekton. So we've got the entire tier list is present on the KT roster. So they are already heavily favored. Chovy on LeBlanc, going to try to get these gap closes in, going to try to abuse Static Shiv. These pros are good at pushing the limit. They make sure that they stay on that threshold of the level versus the game to make sure that Static Shiv is coming in. Now, I believe this game was played pre-patch, so the values are attainable if you are able to stay at a high enough level. Once you die twice, you're basically off the map or I don't want to say off the map. You're off the map long enough that you lose the XP necessary to keep up with the HP on the caster minions to be able to one-shot them. But we do see that there is no DMAT. All right, so Chovy is going to stay on the edge of that threshold of experience to make sure that they always have it to be able to play for it. It's in your games. Most of the time, you should just bring minion dematerializer and put two of your charges into the back line so you can always kill them. At least one. And then if you're doing well, in the game, then the game script will favor you. You'll be okay. Now, Aphelios Rakan going for a little early poke. They did give up the bottom side quadrant, so they have to wonder if there's three people here. They did just enough to get the HP lead on the minions without doing anything else, right? And that's what they want to do to make sure that, hey, if this is going to be bad and three people are here, we want to be able to back off and let this wave come to us. But if it's just two, we want to be able to be the first team to hit level 2. So you see them expertly playing that dynamic. Now it's going to be Rakan joining the fun. Everyone's going to be full throttle trying to get to level 2. The ward is left. Poppy, Sejuani's going to get the bad news that Poppy has taken 2 camps here, unbeknownst to them. So this is a huge win for KT. The fact that Sejuani has to skip over 2 camps to get here, and they have full knowledge, so they'll have the timer. Now, something Peanut could do is immediately go gank bot and then come back for the Krugs. But I anticipate that what he's doing is taking Krugs to make sure that the timer's going to be okay. Because Raptors and Red are going to be so different than they normally would have been on this clear path, right? But if you're the Sejuani and you're in this position, you can skip that camp, go for the immediate gank, go for the win in bottom. It doesn't need to result in a kill. It just needs to result in a tremendous HP advantage plus a crash. Then you come back, you take Krugs, your bot lane resets. Sejuani can go back to top side while bot lane returns to a wave that's crashing to them. And then Sejuani can path bot again. And you create a win for yourself 2 minutes down the road. So a little bit of a missed opportunity there for Genji. It's not infallible, right? You do have to worry about Poppy being in the vicinity, and you don't want to get into these 3v3s, especially Rakan versus Poppy is a tremendously bad situation. Ooh, Chovy. Whew, fast hands. Fast hands. We see how the Q flash from Alistar into the flash from Chovy. These guys are so sharp, man. Just every single iteration, every movement that they make. But Lehens does overstep. He thinks that because of the sweeper that he's going to have a moment to catch them. But Rakan was spot on, catching him on the edge of the frame. And now we see all these counter picks coming in. Or I should say the chain CC coming in. Where if you pick a fight, Alistar's totally fine into Rakan. If Rakan engages, Alistar can turn it. But if you catch Alistar out by himself like this, and the combination of the chain CC from Sejuani and Rakan is going to be enough to get that kill. Now top lane, Renekton is heavily favored against K'Sante. He's going to be kicking some butt over here. As you can see, already has a 10 CS advantage for himself. K'Sante's going to try to hold on to this to exacerbate the issue as much as possible. And you see that based on that top ward, they think that Poppy should have been there by now, based on full clear versus full clear. And since they didn't, they don't see it. And here's the lonely moment for Peanut. Good job by Delight being on the edge, right? The edge of this bush, you can still see over here. A little bit of a misplace potentially from Lehens, right? You want to hug this bottom wall. It does mean that there's fewer dodging directions, but as you could see, that one spot, Rakan was able to see you. You could not see him. Rakan gets the engage. That's the difference between getting a kill and not at this level. Oh, great job by Doran. Doran actually holding his own despite just having the 2 cloth armors versus the Conqueror Renekton. That should be a situation where Renekton's in a really good spot. Now here we go. We've got nothing from Chovy, no flash. The flash timer's still down. We see the flash and the W from Poppy to catch up and stop the dash. That is how fast these guys are. Chovy going with Alt and WR to get away, and Poppy flash Ws to get into the path to get the knock up. That's enough to get this secure. Now, this static shift build, I kid you not, right? If you do not stay on top of the level curve, if you fall behind a little bit, it starts to feel really bad when you can't one-shot the backline minions. So we'll see if that threshold comes about or not. Now, Azir versus LeBlanc as well. Basically, LeBlanc's going to look to punish Azir every time that he casts Q. So what Azir's going to try to do is stay out of range of the dash, use the soldiers to push the wave without presenting a target. And the AoE clear will be stronger for the Azir until the static shiv is picked up. Here we go. Perhaps BDD should have realized that there was more of a window here. Good chain CC, beautifully done. Lehen's making sure to get the stun off right as the overlap comes up. With no flash available and potentially another dash, you're okay to wait until that animation because you can stun to interrupt the second dash if it comes to that. So better to be slightly late than to be slightly early. But that's a very narrow window, right? You have to be sure that they don't have flash, and you have to be sure that you are 0 ping able to respond to another dash. Now, Kaisa also going to be going for the static shift build. We expect it to be into the AP, but sometimes we get into the Ginsu's Rageblade. Ginsu's Rageblade is the faster evolve for the Q. But Luden's plus Nashor's Tooth and Static Shiv makes her a tremendous all-around threat. Basically good in all different ways. So for that reason, I prefer that build. Prefer Luden's over the Night Harvester because mana does become an issue. There is a build where you can go with Manamune, but it delays the spikes too hard. So you would have to know that your team is definitely going to 35 minutes, right? Because you're talking about 4 items now before you come totally online. And you don't really you just can't really afford for that to happen. You can also go for Navori Quickblades, which is another iteration, which is one that comes on a little bit sooner, but doesn't have all of the endgame oomph of the W in these siege situations. Now, endgame team fight shape. We've got Renekton and Poppy that can both be the hammer to the anvil, with Alistar playing front to back. Azir and Kaisa both able to reposition into fights. A lot of times what we're going to see with this Azir-Poppy combination, why it's so incredibly good, is Azir can go early game and shuffle people back into the Poppy, and then Poppy can just slam them into the wall. And so a lot of these team fights should look like that, right? There's going to be Azir being more proactive, a little bit tough to get onto LeBlanc at times, but should be pretty easy to find Aphelios. And so KT, we talked about their meta comp just being out of this world. Like, they basically got top line meta champions in every position, and their comp is good. So, you know, this is going to be an uphill battle for Gen G to win. They already have one advantage, just outplaying the early game. Even despite Peanut falling behind, the fact that they're able to get more what's the word I'm looking for? A more impactful kill. Getting that pick onto Alistar, right? Anytime you kill half of a bot lane, you're basically shutting off the other half as well. Right? There's no way Kaisa's ever going to be able to step up, and you see this right now. Kaisa versus Aphelios. With the early Noon Quiver to get the early clear advantage and Berserker's Greaves to be able to reposition. Aphelios is just holding this freeze. Has the red gun. Ooh, actually, let's go with this a bit too soon. Would have preferred to keep that a little bit longer. The melee line is going to get caught up here. Ooh, flash in, but it's not quite enough. It is Poppy and not enough to disengage. In fact, does the opposite. Actually gives Sedrani a way out. might have seen a world where Cuz could E to slam the Sejuani into his own turret and get some extra play that way. Not that it would have made a huge difference because of the aftershock, but at least a little bit more HP. Poppy trying to get the full disengage. Now check this out. We do have a proactive play. Kai'Sa Renekton in top lane. This is a rotation that these teams are very good at. When you're going for a Rift Herald rotation, you should always bring your AD carry up to top lane and try to get them to be part of this kill. But Pays, accurately assessing that it's time to break his freeze and start going for the crash, gets it. Perhaps, I may even give him credit. That time that I said that I would have liked him to hold on to the wave just a split second longer, he may have been calculating that he wanted the melee line to go under turret so that this crash would be easier. Right? So it's sort of like a rock, paper, scissors. Hey, I'm freezing. Enemy team says, okay, you're freezing, so we'll Rift Herald and we'll rotate. It's like, okay, you're going to Rift Herald and rotate, which means I want to crash, but I want the biggest crash possible. And the biggest crash possible is only attainable by letting the melees sink in under the turret while my wave stacks up, and then I get to crash a wave back out to you. Normally the answer to that is to go shuffle over one of your solo laners to go pick them up. Also going to be heavily favored in a fight if it does break out. Something like Renekton into Aphelios would be great, but you're using a little bit of their attention up in the top lane. But we see, you know, they get the full crash out and a plate from Aphelios does not out-tempo the entire team moving. And this is what we always talk about. The team making an objective play together, doing anything together will always outscale one person doing something individually. And in that case, LeBlanc got a wave. Aphelios got 2 waves and a plate. But it's still not enough compared to the team doing the rest. Oh, Poppy's so clean. They're going to win this now. With Rakan knocked out, they're going to go for the all-in. Front to back aiming's going to take this fight. Absolutely takes it. Keen is still exceptionally strong. Doran is unable to get the rest of the knock of the peel to go over the wall. Really wanted to go over the wall to get himself a way out. Instead does not. And KT just slams the door shut on the pit there. And we're seeing, oh, big engage into knock up. Boom, Chovy is dead as well. And this game is well and truly in the hands of KT now. All of the progress that they made at the expense of that top lane and money in pocket, in inventory, is now going to go into the hands of KT. They're also going to get back the plates that they lost. Alistar with the big knock up. You see the bounce house that is Alistar plus Poppy. Aiming, flashing forward. Good. I love it. Had to be just in time, right? Because enemy AD carry is coming. So they get, I'm going to say the minimum there, a little bit more than the minimum. They're able to go push past the turret and get an extra kill, but they don't pick up any extra plates. They don't get the other wave. Check out this interaction. How is he allowed to get this off? Wow, minimum channel time. Sejuani's not able to react in time. You see that Peanut tried to stop, but Cuz literally had the minimum amount of time to get to the big knockback. That's actually something I've never tested, whether or not Rakan's travel time is short enough to stop Poppy if Poppy starts channeling first. I imagine Rakan can do it from point blank. But it's gonna be tough. If you know in the comments, please let me know. Because normally we always talk about Poppy being hard counter into Rakan, so, you know, it is important to think about all the things that Rakan can do back. I suppose Poppy could always just turn on her W before casting the ultimate. That would be the next way around it. Khan unable to get the rest of that. Wow, that's crazy. All right, Lehen's turning on the ultimate to break the leash, and here we go. Pays is about to get shut down right here. Boom, everybody. It's so tough to fight in these corridors, right? You're playing against Azir, Alistar, Poppy. They can literally bounce you into any of these walls, creating extra time for knockups. Plus, they're not creating the distance from the knockup, right? They're all smashing you against a wall. And now you're going to be in the tough spot where now Renekton is going to be big enough to become the wall, right? He doesn't have the Iceborne Gauntlet. Kassante's going to try to control space as much as possible, but Renekton's looking to just be a menace, be as threatening as possible in the backline. That's why he goes for this Gore Drinker, to just top off his health a little bit more. Make sure that you're always full health when it comes to it as well, right? That's a big deal, making sure that you're always full health. That's something that the Gore Drinker builds will do. You don't see much Gore Drinker outside of pro play. In solo queue, you just don't have the coordination to take advantage of, hey, I'm full health and I can get the maximum out of this. And now where is Gen G going to go to get gold? There are no more plates on the map. They cannot contest for objectives. Top wave is frozen. They cannot really even pass through river because of the engaged strength of the Poppy and Alistar. And so it's going to be really tough for Gen G to find anything. Really, LeBlanc is going to have to fly through these lanes, get pushes going with the static shiv. Also, ops. Oof, this is usually a bad sign. Ops for the Mercury treads to avoid the chain CC and all the magic damage that comes up. But look at the amount of damage that's physical anyways. And a lot of this comes from knockups. So you may not even be able to get any benefit out of Merchants. God, look at this. Doran unable to move for 4.5 seconds. Beautifully juggled and literally juggled, right? Those were all knockups. Pop, up, up, up. It's like a team of soccer players just like playing catch with the ball. Never let it touch the ground. Getting a strangle hold on this position. So like we were saying about Chovy with the LeBlanc build, all right, I'll see if we can get an eye on it, but without DMAT and being slightly behind, I don't think she's going to be able to one-shot. If she can, she's on that last little hairline where every time that the minions get stronger is going to be a problem for her. Good job here by Lehens. Good chain CC. W against the wall, uses it to get pulverized. That wall was probably suboptimal. The idea being that you can put the turret up and just continue the fight with your CC and get the turret to deal some of the damage. Might have been able to do it a little bit more diagonally to just like really shut them off without putting them on the other side of the turret. All right, Chovy, there we go. Static Shiv is down. I want to see whether or not he's able to one-shot the wave, but we're never going to see it because they're just going to get these chain CC knockups. That was a flash engage from Alistar, flash pulverized, turn around headbutt. What's left for them? Herald is down. Radiant Virtue online for the Poppy, the best tank item in the game. Not Jack Show, as a lot of people tend to think. If you need to deal a little bit more damage, Jack Show's totally fine. Alistar just taking over this game with these insanely high base stats. Every single fight. Chovy just not finding any windows to do anything either, right? Still trying to charge up, right? You get 90 stacks from a full length W plus move spell and W back. And move, you'll be sitting at 90. 70 if you do it to the minimum. And 90 if you get that maximum, you get that extra movement in. What are they even contesting for? They can't think that they're winning a fight here. Are they thinking it's just going to get worse? And so we want to take this Even Shroud, Bombi, Cinder, Sejuani, try to get the most for it? Okay. If the result is this, great, right? You push him out, you get enough pressure on this wave. LeBlanc able to eviscerate the wave and go forward. They get a turret for themselves, all right? Didn't think that they would have any spot to aggress on the map. Now, a lot of this was because KT was staying on the map. They got a lot of small advantages. They used it to get the dragon. So the onus is on Gen G to spend money and try to take spent money fights above all else. But like right here, for example, like Sejuani got to shop, right? The downside is she's dead. Obviously, an enemy team got more gold and they got Rift Herald. But Sejuani did get to shop. So when you do get back into that dragon situation, you do not want to linger because Sejuani did shop, right? You don't know. You haven't pressed tab. You haven't got a chance to evaluate whether or not you're in a good spot. So I like KT's choice to just give up the bot turret instead, get shops in for themselves. And you see this little blip right here. This is the retaliation turret, but expect the curve to now go even steeper down. They could try to shut the door on everything and try to shut the door on the turret. But if you do, then suddenly you're wondering, all right, when are we actually going to get to shop ever? Does Sejuani just kind of get in our face with this Bombi Cinder build and just stop us from ever recalling? And do we give up too much pressure around the map? So I do like their choice. Taking stock of items, looks like we're going to have a Leandries into Nashor's Tooth. Nashor's Tooth does not proc on the Sand Soldier's damage, but it does give Azir a couple stats that he really wants. He gets the extra ability haste, he gets the attack speed, and in those moments where your Q goes errant and they start fighting you, you still get damage from the auto attacks, which is something that he absolutely wants. Lehens with a frame perfect stun break and holding off. Look at this zone control, 3-man pulverize. Renekton's gonna have a field day with this as well, right? They're good job focusing damage. Renekton actually taking a step back, and they actually don't go to finish this. Interesting. Wait, Cassante, what was that? What? He just teleported from the safety of above his tri-bush. Oh man, they must have miscommunicated that. We're going to see a replay for sure. Now let's see, 2 people holding down the fort. Poppy and Keen, the 2 tankiest guys on the team, are happy to take this responsibility. But what is the team going to get back in retaliation? Good job by Poppy, not just blocking the dash, but also immediately getting that Q off in response so you get both halves. Q2 being the big difference maker. If you are Poppy and you land Q2 in these fights, then you have a tremendous advantage, right? So much of her damage is loaded into the ability to get the second half of Q off. Now, do they start it off again? Lehens this time. We've got the Nashor's Tooth completed. We are going to see Rage Blade from Kai'Sa, and we went for the on-hit build, largely because we have triple AD, or triple melee, I should say. So they want that extra time with auto attacks. Doesn't need to go into a full prong poke war, especially with Azir. A lot of it's going to be all in. So something you can do with Kai'Sa in these situations. Oh, flash into the knock-up, into Poppy, and there you see it. When Azir uses flash, right, you're always going to connect, you're always going to scoop, and Poppy will always be able to knock you into the wall. Those are coded favorably so that the synergy is always there. And you see that they're just able to, like, any opening, like if you try to contest this Baron, this is what's going to happen. Now, if you're Gen G, what you can try to do is engage backline as Azir or Alistar engages frontline, right? So they sort of get this off. Doran is able to get a massive kidnap off, but they weren't able to get enough to follow, and now you see the damage from the Kai'Sa, my goodness. Taking a Sejuani and ripping them apart. Now look at all these Merc Treads. You have stun from Poppy, stun from Renekton, damage from Azir and slow from Azir, damage from Kai'Sa, stun from Alistar. I guess I see it. But now, like, where's the threat actually coming from? Is it just LeBlanc poking in and we're trying to get like a big front to back ultimate from Aphelios? I feel like there's just not enough there. They've sort of built themselves into a window where there's just not enough damage to actually be able to threaten back. This is Lehens Cam. Good job. Beautiful CC, right? He's just not missing a beat when it comes to which times you have to headbutt. You have to be careful about whether or not you headbutt. You don't want to accidentally put them over the wall, but knowing that you can put them exactly on the wall always means that you'll be able to land your pulverize. And then he's just channeling the E immediately, so he's just ready for another stun to get that maximum duration. A lot of people go WQ on Alistar, not realizing that you should go EWQ, right? You want that E charging already so that there's no delay. You want to make sure that it's primed and ready so that when you jump in, the cowbells have already happened and you're ready to stun at the moment. You don't want to have to wait even a second. All right, let's take a look at the macro decision. Renekton's going to go top, pick up this wave. He's got teleport. He would not be going if he didn't have teleport. Azir, same thing with mid. They are favored in the Azir versus Cassante matchup. Cassante can never touch. And Poppy Alistar just gives such a wonderful line to the Kai'Sa. And I like this position compared to a 1-3-1. When we say 1-3-1, most people default to going 3 in the mid lane, right? Because we said it second, makes sense, 1-3-1. But usually this is the better setup. Because with this lead, you're trying to exacerbate advantages. You're trying to take advantage of misplays, which is something that Azir does better or Renekton does better against a sidewall, right? You don't necessarily want to be flanking into the mid because in the mid, there's so many escapes. You want to force the enemy team into these zones where there's walls so that your flanking play hits that much harder. And we just saw a case in point right there. They're able to get this wave in, get the win for themselves. They get no kills, but they get a massive HP advantage and turn that into the inhibitor for themselves. There is a wave also coming up in the top lane. Now, this could be a window. They should try to engage. If you're Genji, you have to go all in right now. They have to commit everything. The reason being that they were able to shop. Enemy team has not shopped yet, so this is the smallest little window where you might have spent a little bit more gold than them. And you see that they're able to make a fairly even fight, aiming, flashing out, beautifully done to dodge the Rakan. It's not quite enough, but you see that KT had to play almost perfectly to make this play happen, and even though they got that, did not actually secure a full win for themselves, right? So even playing nearly perfect, chasing back, stopping backs, they still get the teleports. They have to get the teleport. Paze is able to get a kill, but it's not quite enough. Good job by Azir shuffling over. And you see, at least you made them pull tightrope walk the end, but great job, fantastic job by KT. That ties up the standings 12-1 apiece, and based on those game times, they may even win the tiebreaker when it comes down to positioning for the playoffs. So very exciting, excited to see these teams. Will be good to see Faker if he's ready for the gauntlet run in Korea, and which of these teams is going to be making it out to Worlds. But both of these teams are going to be favorites when they get there for sure, at least to make it out of groups, but probably for a deep run. KT played a fantastic match. Fantastic. Good job, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel out a lot. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep it surreal. Peace.